I knew I had something. A couple other people knew I had something. Well, I got in this really nice gallery down in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I said, "What do you say when people say, 'What are they made out of?'" He said, "I tell them it's plywood." They say, "No." And then they step forward towards the work. So then I started owning it. And I was just flat out the plywood guy from Maine. Why would somebody work with plywood? It's all just pitted and rough and nasty, and it shows up in the back of a big old truck with a tobacco chewing guy, and they offload it with a winch. And this is plywood that I get is actually more expensive than rosewood. It's aircraft plywood, very high grade from Russia. It's got end grain next to end grain, end grain next to end grain, end grain next to edge grain next to end grain. And what that does is it soaks it up, doesn't soak it up, soaks it up, doesn't soak it up. And you can play that up. You can polarize it, you can make it stronger, you can make it weaker. The worst thing ever is, here's your blank piece of paper. Here's your blank wood. A limitation, though, makes you function in a really tight realm where you have to use all the tools that you can possibly use to get out of the conundrum and create something meaningful. In 2006, I became aware that there was a mapped out bike route that went from Canada to Mexico. About the same time that I was looking at that, I became aware that there was a race that these idiots were doing out there where they raced from Canada to Mexico. The race is self-supported. You can't get support. The clock is running as soon as the race takes off. If you don't want to sleep, you don't have to. If you need to sleep, you do. It's big, and it's so big it gets into your psyche, it gets into every kind of security that you ever had about being exposed either way. Where am I going to get my water? Hopefully you don't get giardia. Hopefully that reservoir in the middle of the Great Basin, hopefully there's water in it. The exhaustion that creeps in from lacking sleep. I had more miles lost, I think, than anybody. I had 200 miles that weren't supposed to be on my odometer.
Sunday, July 13th, 2008.
Hello, Racer 4, Steve Gleasner, calling in from the El Paso airport. I finished this morning at Antelope Wells.
Well, my physical condition when I got to the border was I was strong. I was really bizarrely strong. I kept on going through all these layers of exhaustion. I finally tapped into this, they call it dieseling, where your body will burn anything. It'll burn sugar, it'll burn fat, it'll burn whatever you throw at it. I felt great. A lot of it was probably just, artificial elation. It was about 3 months after the race I started feeling multiple systems were coming unglued. I thought, man, there's something wrong, and I got to get to the bottom of it. I'd been told definitively, you do not have Lyme. For 3 years before I started getting treatment, they saw me as the guy who would put breakfast on the table, and then there'd be 2 hours of just blank, dad asleep. I didn't want them to see me like that. I went to a Lyme doctor and I said, "Look, doc, probably don't have Lyme." He said, "You've got Lyme, and you probably had it before the ride, and what you did was give it a perfect storm where it could go in, move in, and once it gets established, it's very difficult to get rid of. And I'm almost completely over it now. I mean, I'm tons better. It's like an acceleration. It's like getting younger." You can't go through something year after year of not feeling well suddenly and not have it change you. And if I don't take some of that with me into the future of feeling better, then, shame on me. I've wasted an opportunity. might be a gift. Some people might say, maybe not a gift. Some people would be adamantly upset about the gift thing, but it got me here, so I'll call it a gift.